Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. A reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 15, text 1, the Yoga of the Supreme Person. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Udva Mulam Adashakam Ashvatam Prahur Avyayam Parnani Yastam Veda Savedavet Udva Mulam Adashakam Ashvatam Prahur Avyayam Chadamsi Yasya Parnani Yastam Veda Savedavet Udva Mulam Adashakam Ashvatam Prahur Avyayam Chadamsi Yasya Parnani Yastam Veda Savedavet Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Urdhva Mulam Dashakam Ashvadam Prahar Avyayam Chadam Siyasya Pranani Yastam Veda Saveda Ved Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Urdhva Mulam Dashakam Ashvatam Prahar Avyayam Chadamsi Yasya Pranani Yastam Veda Saveda Ved Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Urdhva Mulam Sadasakam Ashvatam Prahar Avyayam Chadamsi Yasya Pranani Yastam Veda Saveda Ved Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Urdhva Mulam Dashakam Ashvatam Prahar Avyayam Chadamsi Yasya Pranani Yastam Veda Saveda Ved. Ladies, Vacha Urdhva Mulam Dashakam Ashvatam Prahar Avyayam Chadamsi Yasya Pranani Yastam Veda Saveda Ved. Ladies, ladies, Urdhva Mulam Dashakam Ashvatam Prahar Avyayam Chadamsi Yasya Pranani Yastam Veda Saveda Ved. Finally, Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Urdhva Mulam Dashakam Ashvatam Prahar Avyayam Chadamsi Yasya Pranani Yastam Veda Saveda Ved. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Urdhva Mulam Dashakam Ashvatam Prahar Avyayam Chadamsi Yasya Pranani Yastam Veda Saveda Ved. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Urdhva Mulam Dashakam Ashvatam Prahar Avyayam Chadamsi Yasya Pranani Yastam Veda Saveda Ved. Wow, a lot of pandits here. Wow, very nice. It's so nice that everybody responds. Very, very nice. And everybody's keen and eager. That's really good. Really good. So you don't get that in other temples. You certainly don't get it in the West, where people are fighting to recite the verse. That doesn't happen. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Urdhva Mulam, with roots above, Adaha, downwards, Sakam, branches, Ashvatam, a banyan tree, Prahu is said, Avyayam, eternal, Chadamsi, the Vedic hymns, Yasya, of which, Parnani, the leaves, Ya, anyone who, Tam, that, Veda knows. Sa he. Vedavit, the knower of the Vedas. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "It is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upwards and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas." Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. After the discussion of the importance of Bhakti Yoga, one may question, what about the Vedas? It is explained in this chapter that the purpose of Vedic study is to understand Krishna. Therefore, one who is in Krishna consciousness, who is engaged in devotional service, already knows the Vedas. The entanglement of this material world is compared here to a banyan tree. For one who is engaged in fruitive activities, there is no end to the banyan tree. He wanders from one branch to another, to another, to another. The tree of this material world has no end. And for one who is attached to this tree, there is no possibility of liberation. The Vedic hymns meant for elevating oneself are called the leaves of this tree. The tree's roots grow upward because they begin from where Brahma is located, the topmost planet of this universe. If one can understand this indestructible tree of illusion, then one can get out of it. This process of extrication should be understood. In the previous chapters, it has been explained that there are many processes by which one can get out of the material entanglement. And up to the 13th chapter, we have seen that devotional service to the Supreme Lord is the best way. Now, the basic principle of devotional service is detachment from material activities and attachment to the transcendental service of the Lord. The process of breaking attachment to the material world is discussed in the beginning of this chapter. The root of this material existence grows upward. This means that it begins from the total material substance, from the topmost planet of the universe. From there, the whole universe is expanded, with so many branches representing the various planetary systems. The fruits represent the result of the living entity's activities, namely religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. Now, there is no ready experience in this world of a tree situated with its branches down and its roots upwards. But there is such a thing. The tree can be found beside a reservoir of water. We can see that the trees on the bank reflect upon the water with their branches down and their roots up. In other words, the tree of this material world is only a reflection of the real tree of the spiritual world. This reflection of the spiritual world is situated on desire, just as a tree's reflection is situated on water. Desire is the cause of things being situated in this reflected material light. One who wants to get out of this material existence must know this tree thoroughly through analytical study. Then he can cut off his relationship with it. This tree, being the reflection of the real tree, is an exact replica. Everything is there in the spiritual world. The impersonalists take Brahman to be the root of this material tree. And from the root, according to Sankhya philosophy, came Prakriti, Purusha, and then the three gunas, then the five gross elements, Pancha Mahabhuta, then the 10 senses, Dasendriya, mind, etc. In this way, they divide up the whole material world into 24 elements. If Brahman is the center of all manifestations, then this material world is a manifestation of the center by 180 degrees, and the other 180 degrees constitute the spiritual world. The material world is the perverted reflection, so the spiritual world must have the same variegatedness, but in reality. The Prakriti is the external energy of the Supreme Lord, and the Purusha is the Supreme Lord himself. And that is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Since this manifestation is material, it is temporary. A reflection is temporary, for it is sometimes seen and sometimes not seen. But the origin from whence the reflection is reflected is eternal. The material reflection of the real tree has to be cut off. When it is said that a person knows the Vedas, it is assumed that he knows how to cut off the attachment to this material world. If one knows that process, he actually knows the Vedas. One who is attracted by the ritualistic formulas of the Vedas is attracted by the beautiful green leaves of the tree. He does not exactly know the purpose of the Vedas. The purpose of the Vedas, as disclosed by the personality of Godhead himself, is to cut down this reflected tree and attain the real tree of the spiritual world. Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganangana Shalakaya Chakshur Ilmiritam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Wow. Prabhupada, as usual, has put a lot into this purport. But the basis is, as the Lord himself is saying, of course, as Prabhupada says in the purport, there's no such thing as a tree upside down, with the roots up and the branches down. Krishna is using an analogy here. It's not that there's a real tree which is upside down, but the analogy is there to illustrate the point that in the material world, everything we do is a reflection. It's a reflection of what goes on in the spiritual world. And it's completely and totally temporary. In Soho Street, those of you who have been to London, you will know that in the window of the temple, there is a diorama of the changing bodies. And we have the shloka written underneath in Sanskrit and in English. And it goes, Dehi nosmin yatha dehi. But it goes, starting off at the child, there's a little light, like the light on your phone, and then the light goes to the next body, and then the next body, and then the youth, and then the teenager, and then to the 20-year-old, the 30-year-old, all the way up to the skeleton at the end. And this attracts people 24 hours a day. It's right in the middle of London. So people coming out of the nightclubs and the bars at night at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, because everything is dark except this blinking light going from. So you always get a crowd outside the window, looking in the window. And when I used to be temple president there for a few years. And when you walk out the door, it's instant preaching, instant, because there's always somebody there looking in the window. 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, somebody's looking, and they're thinking, what's going on here? So one day, it was in the afternoon, there was this old man. He had his very well dressed with his nice hat and suit and everything. I suppose he was in his 70s or maybe early 80s. And he was looking in the window out of curiosity. He was the only one there. So I just happened to walk out the door. And I said to him, oh, you're interested? He said, yeah, this is very interesting. So I said, where do you see yourself in this? And he pointed at the 40-year-old. So you see the illusion, how strong it is? Now that building where Soho Street is now, Radha Londonishvara, previously it was a brothel. We bought it. Before we bought it, it was used for other purposes. So the man said, yeah, I've come to see Daisy. Whoever Daisy was previously. He said, I've traveled on the train and I come here once a year. I said, oh. Well, if you want to see Daisy, you have to go upstairs. So I sent him up to the temple room. So he got the darshan of Radha Londonishvara. And I gave him some Charmamrita, and he went away happy. He didn't see Daisy, but He saw Radha. So that was better than seeing Daisy. So it's just incredible. This bodily concept of life is so strong. It's so strong. And speaking here of the senses and the mind and the intelligence and the whole mixture and the whole conglomeration of all those elements put together. And it creates this, basically, what is an illusion of what we think we are, which is something that we're not. That's what Prabhupada explained in so many places. That's what the word Maya means, that which is not. But we go on with this illusion forever. And as Prabhupada says in the purport here, this material consciousness is also eternal. It doesn't stop. It goes on forever. And we can go through so many millions of lifetimes up to the point of the end of the lifetime of even Brahma. And then we're absorbed again into the body of Mahavishnu, and then Mahavishnu does his yoga nidra, and then again, after so many billions of lifetimes of years, he breathes out again, and again the whole cosmic manifestation manifests. And how many times have we gone through this cycle? Forget about the millions of lifetimes we've gone through in this lifetime of our Brahma. What about the previous Brahmas? It's interminable. It's unending. And we've gone through all of this on so many occasions. And we've reached the stage now where we're at least engaged in the process, or trying to engage in the process of devotional service. Prabhupada is saying here, the tree of this material world has no end. We don't think of it like that. We think it is temporary. It's not. Prabhupada is saying here directly, it has no end. And for one who is attached to this tree, Prabhupada says, there is no possibility of liberation. That's pretty strong. That is really, really a strong statement. For one who is attached to this tree, there is no possibility of liberation. So that leaves almost no hope. But of course there is hope. And we all know that the hope is the chanting of the holy names of the Lord, the Yuga Dharma. That is the hope. But we have to cling on to that like a drowning man grabbing at a straw. Because that is our hope. That is our only renaissance. That is the only thing that will keep us alive. That's the only thing that will give us hope. That will give us solace. That will give us strength. Is attachment to the holy name. But then how do we develop that attachment? If we don't have the attachment in a natural way, then we have to gain the attachment through the process of studying the philosophy, studying the books, taking shelter of each other, taking shelter of devotees, taking shelter of the spiritual master, the Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. This is our process. So we take shelter of all three. And when we do, then there's that possibility of getting out. Prabhupada goes on to say, the Vedic hymns meant for elevating oneself are called the leaves of this tree. This tree's roots grow up because they begin from where Brahma is located. So he's the head of our Sampradaya. And this is where the illusion starts. We all know there's so many leelas of Lord Brahma being an illusion. From the word go, practically speaking. Before even the Prajapatis created all the progeny for the universe, Brahma was also in illusion. So it's not that we should be beating ourselves over the head with a stick and thinking, oh yeah, well, how am I going to get out of this? If Brahma is surrendering, if Brahma is succumbing to the forces of illusion, what about us? But just see how elevated we have reached in this stage. Samahatma Sadurlabha. Krishna is saying this is rare. So it's rare for somebody to get out of this material clutches. Very, very rare. If one can understand this indestructible tree of illusion, then one can get out of it. But first we have to understand what is this indestructible tree of illusion before we can even attempt to get out. Most people don't even think about it. It's not even a consideration. Prabhupada saying the process of extrication should be understood. We have seen that devotional service to the Supreme Lord is the best way. So we come across this word all the time, this expression, devotional service, devotional service, devotional service. Now the basic principle of devotional service is, what is the basic principle? Prabhupada is saying, detachment from material activities and attachment to the transcendental service of the Lord. So the two go hand in hand. On the one hand, detachment. On the other hand, attachment. We cannot give up activity. We cannot give up the mind. We cannot give up the nature of the senses. It's impossible. We're not automatons. We're not just simply machines that are driven by the forces of illusion. We have a choice. And that's what Krishna says to Arjuna in the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita. I've given you all this information. I've given you this knowledge. I've discussed the whole process of the Bhagavad Gita. Now you deliberate on it. Think about it. And do what you will. So it's our choice. So ultimately, the bottom line is, it's up to us. We've reached this stage now. We're engaging in the process of devotional service. We're associating with the devotees. We're worshipping the deity. We're engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, and we're chanting the holy names of the Lord daily. So to what extent do we want to let go of all the material desires? It's based on desire. Prabhupada emphasizes that over and over again in this purport. It's based on our desire. Just like you go to a farm. There's so many farms. My country where I come from is a farming country. It's an agricultural country. And before I became a devotee, I was an agricultural engineer. That's what I did. I was a general engineer, but I specialized in agricultural engineering. So I've been to so many farms, putting up buildings for farmers, big multinational farmers, and so on and so forth. So when you go into a farm, a place, for example, where they're producing pigs, the pig will grunt. So the pig grunts. Do you feel insulted? Of course you don't feel insulted. That's the nature of a pig. That's his job. If a human being did the same thing to you, then you'd feel insulted. But with a pig, and nobody desires to end up in the body of a pig. There are millions of pigs on the planet, but nobody desires to end up in the body of a pig. So how do you get the body of a pig? Because if we have totally unrestricted a tongue, which doesn't discriminate what it eats, anything and everything, then we're in the wrong body for that purpose. If we have a desire to just eat anything that's been put in front of us without any discrimination, then this human body is not fit for that purpose. We're better off in another body. So nature, Krishna doesn't arrange. Krishna doesn't curse us to take the body of a pig. Our desire determines what our next step is going to be. So then nature will arrange, in order to fulfill that desire, in order to fulfill that desire, then nature will arrange that we're placed in the body of a pig. So then you can eat away whatever you want to your heart's content, without you can even eat your own young, and there's no guilt about it, because that's what pigs do. So it's not that, you're going to be cursed, you're going to take the body of a pig. No, nobody's cursing anybody. I'm cursing myself, because I have no sense of discrimination. If I want to eat meat, to my heart's content, these teeth are the wrong teeth for eating meat. You're better off having the teeth of a lion or a tiger or a leopard. Then you go out and you jump on your antelope and tear its neck out and rip it apart and eat it, then you're happy, because that's your desire to do that. So according to our desire, that will determine our next birth. And whatever thinking at the time of death, that will definitely be guaranteed, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 100% you will get in the next birth. So it's not that, that Krishna is up there in the clouds like they have this concept in the Abrahamic religions, and he's cursing everybody to go into hellfire and brimstone. It doesn't work like that. We determine our own destiny. And if we want to determine our own destiny, then we want to leave it up to nature to guide us into our next destiny, then follow the senses unlimitedly, with no control. Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam. This is the first verse. One who can control the tongue, he is fit to become a spiritual master for the entire world. Simply by controlling the tongue. But how many people are prepared to do that? And where does the desire to do whatever we want with the tongue? It comes from the mind, it comes from the desire. Everything starts thinking, feeling, and then willing. And if we don't follow the process, of devotional service, we want to go our own way, we want to be so-called independent, that's fine. Then that is our choice. But then we can't blame the consequences or the result of following our own choice, our own independence. Prabhupada says, ultimately, you have to bow down. You may bow down to the spiritual master voluntarily, or you may bow down at the time of death. But ultimately, we have to bow down. There is no choice, because that is nature. That's the way it works. This tree, being the reflection of the real tree, is an exact replica. Everything is there in the spiritual world. The impersonalists take the Brahman to be the root of this material tree, but it's not. If Brahman is the center of all manifestations, then this material world is a manifestation of the center by 180 degrees. The material world is the perverted reflection, so the spiritual world must have the same variegatedness. But in reality, that's the difference. In reality, there's no reality to this material world because it is temporary. And as long as it is temporary, there's no reality. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, forget the past that sleeps, and ne'er the future dream at all, but act in times that are with thee, and progress thee shall call. Forget the past that sleeps. The past is the past, it's gone. We can't bring it back. And ne'er the future dream at all. The future, we've no control over. We don't even know there's going to be a future 1 second from now. Where's the guarantee? There is no guarantee. So the past, forget it. It's gone. We can't bring it back. The future, we've no control over. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, and ne'er the future dream at all, but act in times that are with thee. Right now, right this very second. Sitting in this room, me talking, you listening to this class, or you doing your japa, or engaging in devotional service, worshipping the deity, cleaning the clothes, washing the floor, whatever the case may be. As long as we're engaged in devotional service, that is now. So then by second, we link all these seconds of devotional service together, all these minutes come together, all these hours come together, and then it's a continuous chain of devotional service. And finally at the end, as Prabhupada says, when you want to go to school, and at the end of your term, you have to do an exam, whether it's in school, secondary school, university, college, whatever, finally you have to sit an exam. So there's no way you can just cram for the exam and go in and sit it. No. You have to practice, you have to go to classes, you have to study, you have to do homework, you have to do so many things, and then you go in and you finally sit the exam. So if you're prepared, if you are prepared, you pass the exam. And if you're not prepared, you fail. So Prabhupada says this whole entire life is a preparation for that point where we have the ultimate test. And if we have that preparation and everything is in order, the minute by minute, hour by hour, dedication to service, engaging the same senses, instead of engaging in material activity, we engage the same senses in the service of the Lord. It's exactly the same. There's no difference. We cannot just say, oh no, the senses don't exist, and go into some kind of yoga posture, artificially trying to suppress. Krishna says directly in Bhagavad Gita, what can suppression accomplish? Absolutely nothing. It just doesn't work. It does not work. So how do we overcome that then? Then we engage in the service of the Lord, no matter what it is we want to do, no matter what our inclination is, in whatever way we want to serve. Just do it for Krishna. Prabhupada says you take all the zeros, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, add them all up, it's 0. But you take the same number of zeros and add 1, then it has a value. So everything we do in our material life, in our material existence, is just a bunch of zeros all added up, and it brings 0. But when we add Krishna, bang, that's it. That's all. Do the same thing, exactly the same thing we're doing now, we do it for Krishna. It's not rocket science. And as for the study of the Vedas, we all know the story of Mahaprabhu when he was in South India and he encountered that Brahmin outside the temple who couldn't read or write. He was completely illiterate. But he was reading Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes he even had it upside down. And everybody was laughing at him, making a mockery of him. Look at this guy sitting here trying to read his Bhagavad Gita. We all know he doesn't read or write. Completely illiterate. But when Mahaprabhu came out of the temple and he saw this devotee attempting to read Bhagavad Gita with tears pouring out of his eyes, Mahaprabhu says, well, what are you doing? Why are all these people mocking you like this? Because they all know I don't read or write. But my spiritual master, he instructed me I should read Bhagavad Gita every day. But I don't know how to read. What can I do? So why are you crying? If you don't know how to read Bhagavad Gita and you can't read or write, what's the tears for? Because I can only imagine that Krishna, he surrendered to become the chariot driver of Arjuna. He became the servant of his devotee. And when I think of this, tears just pour from my eyes. And Mahaprabhu says, you have understood the import of Bhagavad Gita. You have understood the essence of Bhagavad Gita. So it doesn't require great intellectual capacity. It doesn't require academic study. It just requires those of us who are fortunate enough to be able to read and write. We just need to take the words of Srila Prabhupada to heart. Prabhupada is guiding us in every single sentence, every single word. And just put it into practice. And just add Krishna in our lives. It's very simple. It really is very, very simple. We don't need to overcomplicate it. And simply engage in Krishna's service. Thank you very much. Very kind of you all to come again this evening and listen to this Mzungu ranting on about something he doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. But somehow or other, we're all here. Krishna has brought us all together. And we have this wonderful opportunity to do amazing things. And finally get out of this cycle of samsara. Samsara dava nalalita loka. There's no need. There's no need for this anxiety-ridden world into which we have found ourselves. No need for it. Simply bolo hari, bas. End of story. Any questions or comments, please?
But We always listen this word is not real, temporary, but we all are enjoying this word.
Yes. Well, you are. Yes, it's true. That's the perennial question, isn't it? That's always the question. Yeah, the world is real. That's a fact. We don't deny that the world exists. But the thing is, if we take this so-called real solid world, this three-dimensional world, as the ultimate reality, then that when it's only a perverted reflection, that's where the problem lies. Yes, it is real, but it is temporary.
It is not like that on the because of this we are engrossed in the body. So because of the body, our consciousness is there to enjoy this material world.
Yes.
Because like the child,
Yes.
they enjoying the toys. So toys for the intelligent person saying this boy is just enjoying this toy. For him is nothing.
Yeah.
But the boy enjoying
Yes.
as something real.
Yes.
But same child when he grown up, then he laughs on the child, oh, what is this? He's enjoying this. Similarly, I think when we come out from this bodily concept of life, then we can release or we can release the spiritual thing.
Yes.
As long as we are engrossed in bodily concept of life, we cannot appreciate the spiritual life.
Not at all. Not at all. Because when we're absorbed in the bodily concept of life, that's all we know. That's all I knew before I became a devotee. I didn't know anything else, so I thought I went in one direction thinking I'm doing the right thing. I was somewhat an ethical person. I had some sense of morality. I had some sense of religion. I had some respect for God.
But all these different degree of the ignorance.
But exactly. So it was only until I encountered this philosophy, even combining all those things, morality and ethics and religion and so on and so forth, it was all a waste of time. Like you gave the example of the boy enjoying the toy. I remember when my children were quite young. I'm a grandfather now. They were quite young, and we went to see their grandfather. And of course, it was a big occasion, and I think they were 5 or 6 years old. So my father, their grandfather, he bought them a very expensive electric train set for Christmas. And he was into trains. My father was into trains. He was a railwayman, and so was I. So when they took the train out of the box, they spent the whole Christmas playing with the box. They just completely ignored the train. For them, that was more attractive. So our life is like that. You know, we spend so much time. The adults, they say, "Oh yeah, but why are they not enjoying the train? Why are you not enjoying this? Why? Because it depends on what we're attracted to. And the more we're attracted to material illusion, like the reflection of the tree in the water. Of course, the tree is not upside down, but it's reflected in the water. So everything in this material world is a complete perverted reflection of what goes on in the spiritual world. We read in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, particularly the last part of Bhakti Rasa, how all the different emotions are manifested in the spiritual world amongst the gopis. All the things that we think are negative: jealousy, envy, sloth, laziness. There's so many things. Each and every single item is described, but that's in the spiritual world. A completely different analysis, a completely different understanding from what we understand of these qualities. Because ours are pervert. When we're envious, we're not envious because of Krishna. We're envious because we want something for ourselves that somebody else has that we want. We're not jealous because of jealousy over Krishna. We're jealous because of something else. So those same functions are there in the spiritual world, but in the material world they're completely and totally a perverted reflection. Same activity. Everything is upside down. As Prabhupada says here, 180 degrees completely turned around. Every emotion that we have, every thought that we have, every desire that we have, if it's a perverted reflection of what goes on in the spiritual world, but all those emotions exist in the reality of the spiritual world. They all exist in Goloka Vrindavan. Not a shred of doubt.
I'm not clear of one subject matter. It's related and it's not related, okay? So please. So I was reading about how you may have different types of relationships with Krishna. So I think there are 5 that are mentioned. And the one is as his servant, as his friend, as a paternal, or Krishna being your child. There's a conjugal love, and there is one more. How do we determine our relationship with Krishna? I mean, is it a progression from the lowest to the highest? Conjugal love being the highest? Or how do you explain this subject matter in a bit more detail?
Yes. Well, that again that comes about as a result of our desire. Not a material desire, but when we engage finally in the service of the Lord and we're completely and totally on that platform, then we will naturally be attracted more to one aspect of our relationship with Krishna than the other. It's not that one is higher or lower than the other. It's all service to Krishna. Just like service to Vishnu in the mood of Aishvarya Leela, Jai. The service to Vishnu in the mood of Aishvarya Leela, that's a completely different idea. Just like the service to put it in relationship to Krishna himself, the service that all the devotees gave to Krishna in Dwarka is a completely different service to the service the devotees gave to Krishna in Vrindavan or Mathura. So they're all different. It's not a gradation as we imagine in the material world that we're promoted from one level to the next level. If we're Krishna's servant, that's our desire, and we're perfectly and totally happy with that. There's no more to be had from that. But of course, if we're on the level of conjugal relationship, if it's Madhurya Leela, then ultimately that embraces all the other Leelas. But it doesn't mean that if somebody in the spiritual world, somebody desires to be a tree, like Krishna, Prabhupada, when he opened the temple in Vrindavan, what do we call the temple in Vrindavan? Prabhupada's temple in Vrindavan, you know? Krishna Balaram. It's not called Radha Krishna. It's called Krishna Balaram. That was Prabhupada's mood. Prabhupada's mood was like a cowherd boy. And then in other areas, Prabhupada reflected the mood of Madhurya Leela. In other areas, Prabhupada reflected the mood of servant, in awe and reverence. It depends completely. And that mood can change. That mood can change because if we feel, I prefer, if I'm serving in this way, but I'd love to serve in this way, that's open also. But that requires practice. Lord Chaitanya's mood was a reflection of that mood of Madhurya Leela, engaging in Rasa Leela. But we're coming in the line of Mahaprabhu. So that is ultimately, if we want, that is ultimately our destiny. It completely and totally, Krishna fulfills all desires. All desires. Like those servants of Krishna in the spiritual world, for example, who want to be a tree. Krishna's out with the calves as a cowherd boy. He's engaging with the cows. He's having fun with Madhu Mangal and the other cowherd boys. They're exchanging their tiffin. What did your mother put in your tiffin today? And Madhu Mangal, there's a famous incident in the Krishna book where Madhu Mangal says, "Open your mouth, Krishna, and I'll give you a piece of burfi." And instead he drops a marigold in his mouth because they did an exchange. So Madhu Mangal, he cheated Krishna. And then they went chasing each other. They carry each other on each other's backs. And they have games with each other. And they fight and wrestle and do things that normal boys do. But it's all spiritual. So they want to climb a tree. Somebody has to be the tree in order to facilitate the service of Krishna wanting to climb a tree with the other cowherd boys. Some living entity has to facilitate that service. So the ecstasy of wanting to be able to fulfill that desire of Krishna, somebody manifests as a tree. So in the material world, a tree is considered to be cursed. In the spiritual world, a tree is in total ecstasy. All the trees in Goloka Vrindavan are Kalpavriksha. So there's no difference between being a blade of grass in the spiritual world, being a cowherd boy, being Krishna's mother, being Krishna's father. It's all spiritual. It's all ecstasy. And that love and that ecstasy is constantly and totally increasing every single second in time. Tesham satadayuktanam bhajyatam pritipurvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamapayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. They can go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. It depends on our desire. It's completely and totally up to us. But it's not like as we think in the material world that it's a certain gradation. All service to Krishna in the spiritual world are all equal. Prabhu?
Perfect.
Yeah.
All the rasa itself it is in full. But same time, the mood, devotees, they want to serve in different way. They can serve in all five ways. But each rasa it itself is in full. There is no upper low.
Yes, each one is full and complete.
This is the Krishna Prema Sadhaka Mona. So
Yes.
this is like Nitya Siddha. Nitya Siddha means that is eternally perfect and
Yes, and eternally liberated.
liberated.
So you can imagine.
Balram, he served the Lord Krishna in five.
Yes.
Rasas, all in five. Like you give a very nice explanation. Like if somebody like Krishna wants a tree, somebody
Yes.
manifests in excited to be being as a tree. So he's enjoying same like others. Because he wants to serve.
It requires a lot of high-level intellect for somebody to understand that.
Yes.
Because as you said, a tree here in this material world is a curse.
Yeah.
Yes.
But there in the spiritual world, it's as much ecstasy as being a friend
Yeah.
or a parent or anything else.
People will be.
Hanumanji enjoying same like Sita ji enjoying with the Ram. As a task, as a servant, he is enjoying same.
Yes.
If you tell to become Madhurya, to Sita he don't like it, he is enjoying there. But sometimes you need to do,
Yes.
they can exploit.
Like Hanuman.
Yeah.
Like Hanuman.
As per their own mood has to be there. The mood has to be there. If you want to enjoy in different rasa, then Krishna provide give facility.
In the spiritual world, the residents of the spiritual world, they are anticipating Krishna's desire. And the secret is the one who anticipates Krishna's desire the most, he gets to serve. So the one who's thinking, oh, Krishna wants to climb a tree. So then they fight with each other to manifest as a tree. So Krishna can climb on me. Just like Krishna danced on Kaliya. He danced on Kaliya, jumping from hood to hood to hood of the snake. And Kaliya got the blessings of the lotus feet of the Lord, dancing on his head. The Lord is dancing on his head. This is Kalya, a snake. So a snake can engage in the service of the Lord, which is a cursed entity. Imagine what is open to us. Everything is open. It's completely and totally the sky is the limit. There is no limit. And that ecstasy is increasing at every single moment in time. However you want to serve, in any capacity, at any time. Jai. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. How does this switch off? Does this have a